this new episode of Continuum Gaming. Today we have the first episode of the year 2023. I'm one day late because I didn't find the time on Sylvester and stuff like that to do an episode, but I hope, that's still okay with you. And other than that, of course, have a great new year. I hope you will have a very successful one and hope you will have fun with this episode. So the first episode of this year is going to talk about Sailfish OS again, and we are going to talk about 3 small helper apps which are pretty useful in day-to-day life and stuff like that, sometimes at least. They are not the one that you are going to use all the time through, probably at least, but they might be of some usefulness to you, so just let's have a look. As always, I'm going to use, of course, the Xperia 10 Mark III in this case, as a smartphone with Sailfish OS on it, latest version at the moment. Then we are going to have a look at that smartphone screen more or less with my laptop, which is standing at the side here. It is connected with an HDMI cable to this big screen here, and the big screen is just going to show you what is happening on the smartphone, because we are using a technology called screencast, which is going to take pictures of the screen of the smartphone all the time, sending that to a web server, and the web server is going to be shown on my laptop, where I'm going to access it by my Firefox, and I'm going to show you that on the big screen. If you want to know more about all of this, what Sailfish OS is and so on and so forth, please have a look at the corner up there. And other than that, let's start with that. First I will have to go to Firefox here, and I'm going to put that one into full screen mode, so you get the most out of the image I can provide here. And other than that, as you may or may not already can see, we are not going to see anything. That happens from time to time if you didn't refresh. So just refresh the screen once, give it a little bit to reconnect, and as you can see, we are now seeing what should be there. Okay. Other than that, there is a little bit of delay for this technology, so everything you're seeing that is just a little bit delayed from the image or what I'm saying or whatever. It might be normal because in the end it might be the technology we are using here, which is not the fastest one, but it's the best one we have here to get it to the big screen. And other than that, I'm going to change around or move around and show you the smartphone image at the same time, so you can more or less compare it, and if there's something happening you might already see it here but not seeing it there. That's normal, just as I mentioned before. Okay, so first off, let's have a look at the helper apps I'm going to show you. It's going to be ToDo List or ToDo List. It's going to be the Zollstock one, which is literally exactly this. So some kind of a measurement helper. And we are going to have a look at TimeLapse-Tools, which is just a tool to do time-lapse with Sailfish OS. And so let's first start with ToDo. The first one in my overview here. And the ToDo List app is a pretty nice one because it doesn't need you to, for instance, do some kind of a connection to a server or whatever, but it's really going to be on your smartphone. There are a couple of other ones. ToDo, for instance, is one that are only working with Outlook or whatever you are using on a different server, and so that's not really helpful for our things we are doing here. Of course, ToDo List is exactly what we are talking, what you would think it is. It is a to-do list helper. So first off, you can have different projects which you can create, because it's a pretty nice app. It offers a lot of different things. So if you want to, for instance, do a new project, just do this. I'm going to call this Continuum Gaming, just to show you what's going on here and how it is done. And we are going to do this. Now we can, for instance, select one of those and use one of those to create different things with it, or better to say, use it to have a look if everything is already done and stuff like that. So if you, for instance, have different projects and you need, for instance, to build something, and you need different stuff for that, you can, for instance, put in your to-do lists for Continuum Gaming. You can already see it in the category, or the project is showing up there because we selected it. And now we can, for instance, add a new one. And if we do that, let's say we have to buy wood, whatever. So because we are building a cupboard or something, don't know. And now we would have to do that. You can add a description if you want to, you don't have to, but you could. And if you are fine with that, just do this. And as you can see, we now have information that today, at the date we have at the moment, we can now buy wood, for instance. If we did that, we can click on it. It's not going to be set instantly or something, but you will have to select another option here. For instance, erledigt, which means just done, so you could just give it a check mark there. But if you want, for instance, to work on it tomorrow, because you have something where you have to buy wood every day or something, you can, for instance, use a second version. So for today, it's already done checked, but for tomorrow, there's already a new one that is going to be necessary to be done tomorrow. And you can do that for this week, or you can even ignore it if it's not relevant for you anymore or whatever, but you don't want to delete it. So I'm going to use erledigt in this case, and as you can see, we have a check mark now, and this one is already done. If I go over here, I can now, for instance, switch to the next one, to-do list, so in this case in general, and do the other stuff too, and like this we can use this if we want to. To just delete something or edit something also, just long click on the entry there you are seeing there, and then you can, for instance, delete it with the button down below, or you can just use it as you want. You can have repeating stuff that you want every day, for instance, to be there and stuff like that. So like this, you could, for instance, do your training plan or whatever you want to do there, and have it each day, or let's say a couple of different options here, so that you get it shown on each day or on a weekly base or whatever you need there. Yeah, and this is more or less the To-Do List app. You can find the description of it down below. It's a pretty nice app, I really like it. Just try it out because it's simple. Okay, so next one. As you can see, you can even add in a new one by just clicking there and going by more or less a shortcut to the app then, and be already in the right position for that. And of course you can do this and go through the different things you are having here. At least if there would be something that we wouldn't have checked, it would show here, and you could already see it in the big screen and work with it. Yeah, pretty nice app, as I mentioned before, but let's have a look at the second one. The second one I want to show you in this episode is the let's use the Zollstock one. Zollstock is a measuring tool. So for instance, if you don't want to always get this with you, you can use your smartphone to measure stuff with it. But very important, be very aware that you might have to calibrate this. At the moment it's pretty well calibrated, so we don't need to do anything, but be very aware that depending on your smartphone model and stuff like that, you might have to recalibrate it. But as you can see, at the moment, if I hold it next to the screen here, we can already see, 1 centimeter is 1 centimeter in this case. And so let's have a look at what we can do here. One of the things you can do, for instance, is you can just move this around and have a look at how many centimeters you get with a certain length, for instance. So for instance, if you need to measure something, just put it up here, and now you could measure, for instance, the same part there by just putting it next to there. Let's use yeah, why not? Let's have a look at how long this mouse here is. So just put the part down here, up there for instance. And now we can already see how long the mouse is. And the good thing is it's going to be displayed here. So the length of the parameters here, the lower one, the L1, is more or less what you want to use. It's going to show you what the length was you measured the last time. And the good thing is, in the end, P is a delta between both of those. So if you do this, okay, that was wrong. It's the other way around. Length is a delta of both of those. P is just a position on the on the axis here. So in the end, you can already see it's a pretty useful one. For instance, if you want to measure something in between, you can do that too. Just move those sliders around and get your measurement done. And yeah, so in the end, you can more or less leave this at home, at least if you're not going to do a very, very long measuring. The good thing about all these is you can just keep that up there and then, for instance, scroll down and do something like this. So you can even measure very long distances by just putting this at the start here, for instance. Then you are going to move your slider, for instance, to the 12 centimeter mark or whatever you want to use here, something like this, for instance. And now I can just go down and move this again to 12 centimeters again. And now I can measure the additional centimeters of a tool then too. So in the end, it's not limited to the smartphone size, but you can just try to do a lot longer distances. As you can see, 1 meter isn't a problem, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go very, very long in the other direction too. Yeah, and this is of course pretty helpful. As you can see, it's very, very simple. There's just an instruction menu. The settings will give you an option if, for instance, some scaling or measurement part here isn't exactly what the calibration thought it would be. You could, for instance, put in your own one, so just use one of those measurement tools like this one, put it next to it and just see how many centimeters really are on your display, in this case about 14, and then you can really try to scale it down or up a little bit to make it just more precise. It depends on what you need there. Yeah, and this is more or less the app. Very simple, very helpful if you ask me. So it's Zollstock. The download thing will be down below, or I'm going to show you the real name will be standing down below too, so you can just copy it out and put it, for instance, into the Sail Harbor one. Problem about that is I can't really post links or something from that because they're not providing such, because there's no web interface, but only on your smartphone you will see what's happening there. So with the name you can search for it in there too. Other than that, the next part I want to show you is TimeLapse-Tools. It's the last one. And it's a really, really simple app, but yeah, pretty nice and helpful. What you can do there is you can just click New Time Lapse, and if you do that, it's going to start your camera, and with that, you are able to take different informations, of course, and then you can, for instance, take images of what you are seeing there. For instance, you can say I want a caption, the image to be like the name or the time we are going to talk about, but you can of course put something else in there too. And then you can just tell him how many milliseconds should be between the different images you are going to take. So for instance, at the moment we are going to take 1 image per second, because 1000 milliseconds are 1 second, of course, and then you can just let it perform that, or you can, for instance, limit the count. So for instance, I just want to get, let's say, 25 of those. So 25 seconds we are going to take a small little time wrap then, and move that around. I'm just going to put that down a little bit because I just want to show you what's happening here. And you have different options here. For instance, the exposure values and stuff like that can be set too. So as you can see, current one is this. You can auto do that, or you can just put it into the mode that it's not going to be auto. But in the end, auto is a very good thing to do, and the focus mode is infinite in this case. So if you want some kind of depth of field or something like that, you might have to put that in a different one there. But in the end, this is more or less what we are going to do. And if I'm just going to go to generic again, here is of course where you want those time lapse to be saved to, and of course now we are just going to put it in. And as you can already see, there's a counter which is going up. I'm just going to move it around a little so you can see that something is happening. And as you can see, it already took the photos. It's not going to show them directly to you. You will have to go to your to this here to have a look at what's going on there. And if you want to stabilize stuff and so on, you can use the app to let that be done. So the video it's going to create from our time lapse is going to be stabilized, deflickered if you want to, and then just click assemble. Give it a little bit of a time, and it's going to put all the different images together into a video more or less, which is going to show you all the images in this case, of course, very short one. As you can see, processing images, 10 of 10 was done. Now it's assembling everything with Fmpeg in this case. Not even sure if I have Fmpeg on the smartphone, but we will see. But progress done. Okay, done. And now we have more or less a new video in our part there. As you can see, you can, for instance, put in different modes here. So the profile of that, how the video length should be and stuff like that, how many FPS should be in the video. It's a really nice app to do stuff like that. And now it should be assembled, and if you now go to your library more or less, then you might be able to see that. I'm going to cut here and show you the result. Yeah, and here we have the result of what we just did. So if I just click on that, it's very fast, of course, but it's a little bit wobbling around. But as mentioned before, what we did there was, of course, we told him to use 25 FPS, I think. We only did 10 of that, so it's under 1 second. But in the end, you can see we got the image in our library here. It's going to be very short, of course, because we didn't take too many images. The normal behavior of this, or what you are going to do in general, is of course you are going to do time-lapse videos where you are going to leave the smartphone somewhere. It's going to take, for instance, each second or even each 10 seconds or whatever an image, and then you are just going to put that together. For instance, for stop motion animation you can use it, or you can use it, for instance, to just do something like in the image I showed you before. If you really don't need your smartphone for a long time or something, you can just go in there. Give me 1 sec. And for instance, try to get the moon or the sun or whatever you want to do there into a nice little video collage and have a time lapse going on. And I would say there are a couple of different options to do that, and what you want to do with that, you can of course use the images itself too. You don't have to assemble them, you can just use them as they are and get something like this, for instance, composed together. So, I would say this is more or less the end of the episode. I hope you had fun with it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and of course, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, have a great one. If you have any kind of questions, comments or whatever, put them down below into the commentary section. And other than that, have a great year 2023 and see you in the next episode. Bye.